And shine. Good morning. Welcome to your perfect day start of the morning brief. I'm Kayodoki Kilu here in Lagos.
And I'm Jeffrey Uzoma, the third day in the month of February.
I stopped counting now.
Yes.
Now that we're in February.
Now that we're in February, you're tired of counting. Welcome to the program. I'm Jeffrey Uzoma.
Big night for Nigerian music. Depends on how you look at it, actually. If you are watching here in Nigeria, it's big morning, right? Because the Grammys held this morning. Well, if you're watching this part of the world, but if, of course, you're at the crypto arena, of course, it was a big night, particularly for Thames, who has won, I think, her second Grammys now for the best performance. That's what she was, I think, nominated in 3 categories, actually. I think the 3rd category as a songwriter, she was part of the composers of that song. But Thames, yesterday or this morning, if you're watching in Nigeria, won the Grammys award. And, you know, it was in that category where she was, would I say, lumped up with other big African acts like Wizkid, we had Burna Boy, all of the big names,
Ashake.
really, Ashake and the rest. But it was
David.
the ladies' night yesterday, or today.
Fantastic. It's good to see her come into her own. You know, she's been around, just been doing her thing quietly. Sometimes I don't really know where she lives, whether she lives in Nigeria, she lives in America. But she's done quietly. She's been making, she's like China in the music industry. She doesn't make so much noise. She's not aggressive. She's not, in that sense, controversial, though she can be in the news time and again. That she slowly and steadily has moved into our own space. So it's good to see her finally emerge to win this in her very own right. Thames' second Grammy Award. And she has these nominations across maybe collaboration or songwriting for some big songs in the world. So she deserves her own flowers now. Absolutely. As far as the music industry is concerned. I know that sometimes Nigerians don't know how to relate with Thames, perhaps say, is she really Nigerian? Yes, she's Nigerian, but she just, I'm trying to explain her brand positioning. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
You cannot put her in the class of, say, Ira Star or David and what we embrace Nigeria with their full chest. It's not as if she rejects Nigeria, but she just tries to be in the middle of many things. And now she's earned that award for Best African Music Performance category at the 67 Recording Academy Awards, known as the Grammys. Congratulations to Thames.
Absolutely. Today is her mom's birthday. She said that this was like, and that's her mom, right? But behind her, and she was like, this is a perfect birthday present.
Her mom was
for
a
her
model
mom
as well, I think so. She was
know,
on one commercial one time.
It really flows in the blood. But we must talk about this again. I think it's something that comes up. And I know that we've had African artists not really happy about the lumping together, the fact that the award, in fact, the award used to come at a separate event of sorts, like a backstage event, but eventually they moved it to a premiere. So this is actually not the real, this is not the real Grammys event.
Where everybody sits.
Exactly, this is a premiere. So this is what happens before the main event. Again, they've said time and again that we have lots of awards to give. People will give their acceptance speech. So naturally, it will take
almost
a lot of time.
Almost about 90-something awards.
Exactly, and they can't cram that up into the 3 hours that they have for the main show. That's why they lumped everybody together. But it was good to see Jimmy Carter win an award. It was the oldest. He won an award for his, best book narration. So he was nominated before he died.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. So this is good for him, posthumous.
Amazing, right? So at 100, he's the oldest Grammy winner. A lot of you know that he died last year. So that was another big one in that sense for that award. But hey, I think we'll hold on to what Thames has won and we'll celebrate it. But I know a lot of people will now be looking at the headies right now. Like if I didn't win the Grammys, at least I should win the headies. So maybe we should listen to what Thames had to say on that night. Just a little bit of it.
Just a little.
That's, of course, courtesy the Grammys. What she was saying there was, well, this is dedicated to her mom. And guess what? She was saying, like, first of her Grammys that night, because the next announcement, the next category, she was also nominated in that category, which was Album of the Year Global. We also had...
R&B, something in R&B. There's another
Yeah,
category.
that was a songwriter bit, where she was
Yeah.
a songwriter. But the next category, which was the best album, that's where we had Rema.
Yeah.
And I think Ashake in that, I had Ashake and Wizkid in that particular category. I think it was Wizkid. I'm not quite sure, but she didn't win the next one. But it was prophetic, I saying the first that she'll win the night. But congratulations!
It's a big one for her. As I said, congratulations to her. We expect to see more records from her, to do more big things. She's earned her space. And so we'll just leave it at that. What else are we doing today on the program?
I think we just get right into the big talking points for you on the show this morning. The weekend, of course, did not just go in that silent manner. The ripple effect of the internal crisis of the People's Democratic Party, Nigeria's main opposition, is still being felt. The leadership tussle, internal tussle, there's a lot pulling the PDP in different parts. So we take a look at its effect on the party, especially on its role as a major opposition force in Nigeria.
That's quite an important conversation as far as the PDP trying to get its acts together. But that will not be all. The rising cases of road accident is a serious cause for concern right now. We just reported, in Ondo State, 30 people have lost their lives due to this auto crashes seen on your screen. What exactly is going on with auto crashes, whether it's involving usual or regular vehicles or articulated vehicles? We need to put a stop to this careless death as soon as possible.
Absolutely. While we, of course, talk about that, because we know a lot of people are traveling by road this morning, all through the week, we'll talk about women in business, something cheery, actually, as we always do every Monday. And this week's edition of Women in Business features an engineer who doubles as, guess what, as you can see, a painter. We discuss her career and also her foray into designing. This is definitely going to be a fun conversation, guys.
Absolutely. So we will be talking a lot more about women in business right on the program, and the morning chapters where we highlight one or two books that people are reading. My grandfather's inheritance, we were supposed to have some time ago. Olani, Leigh, we hope that technology will let us have that conversation with her. She has a unique way of presenting her brand, so just brace up for it. It's coming. As soon as the hour comes towards the end of the show, we'll bring you this particular book, My Grandfather's Inheritance, by the author Olani, Leigh.
Absolutely. That's like the 10th absolutely on the show this morning. So be a part of the show online, WhatsApp, hashtag CTV Morning Brief on X and other platforms. There was an attack in Ebonyi State, southeast Nigeria. We understand that suspected herdsmen attacked Amegu Nkala community in Ishelu local government area, killing yet to be ascertained number of people. It's a developing story, and we'll also be touching base with Ebonyi State this morning, and it's something you definitely don't want to start the week with.
Not at all. It's quite unfortunate, these things. This attack, we don't know how many people were killed, so the authorities of the police should be joining us to bring us up to speed, update us as we touch base with Abakaliki, the Ebonyi State capital, to find out exactly what happened, who are those responsible, the number of casualties, and especially what the authorities are doing to stop this mess. That's exactly what we'll be doing today on the program. So it's a packed show. So just be part of it. Join us on X. CTV Morning Brief is the hashtag you can reach us on, so that we can have that conversation right here with you and amplify your voice. Also, the WhatsApp number is on your screen, at the bottom of your screen, so you can send your videos and messages only, so we can also amplify your thought and your voice. There's a lot to talk about in Nigeria. We give the opportunity for us, so give you the opportunity for you to say what you have to say, because you have a right to say what you have to say. Hey, but besides that, let's head to what the headline, I almost said the head is.
Very soon, in a few weeks, we'll have the headlines.
In a few weeks. All right, let's go to what the headlines, the dailies are saying. I think let's begin from the Guardian newspaper. The Guardian today, Monday, is saying, anxiety over oil output exploration as 55 licenses expire this year. Okay.
The story.
That headline in itself is a full story.
It's decades of story, or stories, as the case may be, that you're seeing right there. Naturally, our oil industry has been one of the most intriguing Not in Africa, in the world. I think it is in a class of its own. Some of the stories that
In a
come
class
out,
all by itself.
as in some of the stories that come out of that industry, some of the things that go on in that industry, a lot of people would be shocked if they knew the full story. So more importantly, how will this affect oil output, right? How will this affect Nigeria's revenue? That's basically what this headline is saying, because our oil output is tied to our revenue. So
and enough said on this. So if you go to the front page of The Guardian did a great job by telling you companies holding PPLs, average target daily production, and all of this. Some of this, for instance, the one with the Shell, by the time it will come up to maybe 2029. So there are so many things in the oil industry. If our oil industry is not working, leave all the talk. We're going to suffer. So that's why anything that has to be done to ramp up production has to be done. At least in the immediate term, we don't have that level of source of revenue like crude oil for now. Let's go to Nigerian News Direct. 2027, wait for next election to test your popularity. Presidency tells opposition figures. Political tensions, fight is ahead, not now. Spokesperson Dare Atiku accuses Tinubu of promoting snatch and grab agenda, undermining democracy. So some of us are not surprised when politicians are being politicians. So they are beginning to make that political move, and there's a lot on the table of the president to fulfill his promises. He said some action is taken, like the twin policies of the economy, that's going to hurt us in the immediate term, but in the long term is going to be good for the country. We're counting down to 2 years in office. Nigerians are not that patient, so something has to be done. For the average Nigerian, I can talk about the big things about macroeconomics and all the analytics. That is not for this morning. What the Nigerian is concerned is, when we're done speaking all that English, I go to my 12. How much is rice? How much is tomato? How much is, what is beans? How much is oil? Right. How much is tomato? How much is all of this? That is how Nigerians assess good performance, not the grammar we come and speak with our experts now. It's none of their business.
They've said time and again that Nigerians are not really hard to please.
Not at all.
Do the basics. Nigerians, in fact, right now, Nigerians are still very patient. So imagine if you were to give them that basic. You'd be a god, certainly, with a small g, of course. Turn our attention to the Nigerian Tribune. Similar headline on the front page of the Tribune. And you see it's about 2027. I know, we're barely midway through 2025, right? And it's 2026. But hey, politicians are already in 2026, December. They're preparing to get into 2027. So the Nigerian Tribune leads with this. 2027, Northern Leaders Coalition proponents write off PDP. So are these proponents writing off the PDP? Well, the explainers are under. Says ex-military leaders, other stakeholders endorse coalition. Proponents may announce new platform late February. Leaders yet to agree on presidential standard bearer. LND playing lead roles. Source, what's LND? Tinubu not worried by gathering of opposition presidency. So the conversation around the North prepping to possibly put a candidate in for the elections is always very interesting one. Everybody, by the way, every Nigerian is qualified to run, but there's this unwritten agreement of sorts that power rotates from south to north every 8 years. So you had former President Buhari do 8 years, and the expectation of some is that President Tinubu or someone from the south would complete the 8-year tenure for the south. But you know, the PDP is quite interesting because PDP says we did not agree with you people, right? At this rate, we can put up anybody to run for presidency. But more importantly, as Jeffrey said, is the issues at hand. But you can't stop politicking. Yeah. It always continues.
It will continue. For us, let politicians be politicians. It's a good talking point, by the way. So they can engage. Mine, as long as they're not killing themselves, as long as it's just rhetoric. But to say that the president is not worried about coalition, that's not essentially true. They may not show it, but these are political statements, you know. Nigerians are very angry to an extent with the president, even though they are patient that he's made life difficult for them. But he's explained and explained. Barnabas will say, go explain, tire. But he's keep explaining. So to say the president is not worried, that's not true. I don't believe that.
But who is the opposition? Which of the oppositions? Because when you look at the PDP, Jeffrey, you don't see what you want to see.
Yeah.
When you look at the Labour Party,
that's why we're in them.
You don't see what you want to see.
That's why we're in them, because I remember many years ago, I wrote an article on, and I published it on my page, but I was talking about this. We need to have the ideal of two choices, at the minimum in any democracy. It is not safe for democracy to have one party. It is not safe in any democracy. That's why in America, for instance, you're clear on what the Democrats stand for. You're clear on what the Republicans stand for.
Not to have the mushroom candidates and parties here and there.
Every year, there are so many parties. People don't know there are so many parties in America. A lot of parties, I think more than even Nigeria. But those two parties, they are always at loggerheads. Everybody's fighting for it because it's ideologically driven. You may question the rationale of that ideology. That's a different kettle of fish. But here, the opposition, they need to get their acts together. PDP has not been able to hold neck. By the way, APC has its own problem. APC itself has not held its own neck. Just that they're empowered. When people are empowered, they have a way of managing their crisis because power is a tricky game. So I can't remember when they held their neck.
Dissenting voices are there, but they are sort of quiet. Either they've been
Labour Party is another kettle of fish entirely. At least these are the frontliners when it comes to. So it's important that the opposition, when the APC was in opposition, we felt what an opposition was. They gave the PDP a run for its money until they kicked them out of power. That is the kind of formidable opposition we need. They even have a greater majority in the House of Reps at some point. I don't know with all this defection what's going on.
Well, that's the PDP?
Yeah, no, not the PDP, opposition now. APC versus opposition.
Right.
When a collective of the opposition at the beginning of the 10th Assembly, they were in the majority.
Right.
But I don't know, they were not able to put their acts together.
Certainly not.
So it's not safe for us to have a one-party state. It should not be allowed to happen. It can never happen. You saw what happened when the APC was in opposition. The PDP felt the heat. That's what it means to be in opposition. So maybe as Nasser El-Rufai said, he's now suggesting on how the opposition can coalesce. He says he's not in the opposition yet, but it looks like it's on his way out. We don't know yet. But it could also be a game. I'm seeing a game being played out here.
Right.
In party politics, there are those that are loyal to the party. There are those that are on espionage activities to the next party, to be like moles.
In other words, don't take politicians too seriously. Because you don't know what's happening behind the doors.
When they say go left, please run right and look very far, because it's a game.
Definitely. Business Day is next on the line. I'll just quickly take a look at the front page. Naira hits 8-month high as dollar demand eases. Is it a function of the season we're in? Is it something that will continue? Well, certainly this is something we hope will be sustained. Naira hitting 8-month high as dollar demand eases. I see market sees effect of local petrol refining, FM's inflows. Dangote, for example, releasing a statement some days ago saying petrol is now below 900, right? At least that's what you get at the ex-depot price. So perhaps we're going to be seeing petrol drop even farther, Jeffrey.
Yeah,
500 won't be bad.
500 is a tall order. Let's just hope that crude oil prices, because
bad, right?
that's the aspiration. That's the idea of a free economy or a market-driven economy.
Right.
So I don't know whether to say because if Trump is saying drill baby drill and OPEC increases quota, that naturally means that prices will come down because we'll have lots of supply. So if we come to say about $60-something per barrel of crude oil, or even 60, is not going to be good for us in terms of revenue, but it's good for us consumers, because crude oil is the biggest component in terms of cost when it comes to PMS price. So we cannot do, for instance, the Naira is now 1,400 and something. So all of them works
in which of the windows?
The FMs, at least where the CBN monitors, so the black market should be around 1.5 and all of that.
Exactly.
Or the parallel market, as they call it. We don't like to talk about that. But at the end of the day, let's see stability. Stability is what the government aspires for. Then we can begin to talk of growth maybe later on in the quarters of this year. But stability and strengthening, let's see how it plays out, so that you can predict outcome.
Right.
That's the most important part. So that if you're making an investment, your real rate of return is guaranteed. When you take out inflation and the volatilities of FX, you now have some coins. So even if you're in the deficit is not that high.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. We'll take a quick break now. When we come back, it's a packed show. PDP politics, road crashes and incidents of death on the road, attacked by herdsmen, suspected herdsmen in Ebonyi State, as well as women in business, and of course, a creative talking to us. That's all we'll be doing today on the program. So it's going to be a very quick-paced or fast-paced conversation. Join us again in just a moment.
So let's dive right into politics this morning. There's a lot of talk about 2027, but I'm sure you are concerned about today, at least today, tomorrow, and the next. How governance is delivering, how well or otherwise it is delivering, and the role of the opposition in ensuring that the main party has policy alternatives. Well, there's just some form of well-rounded conversation happening. But the PDP so far, instead of playing a role of opposition, is experiencing more opposition within its own ranks. And we have joining us on the show this morning Mr. Leigh Olani, who's a Senior Special Assistant in Public Communications and Social Media to the FCT Minister, was formerly the spokesperson of former Ekiti State Governor Ayodele Fayose, joining us from our Abuja studio. And on Zoom is Mr. Kemeni Udim, lawyer, public affairs analyst, immediate past legal advisor of local government chapter of his party, the PDP, and senior partner Justice Chambers, Uyo, Akwa Ibom State. Gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to Morning Brief.
Yeah, good morning.
Well, Mr. Olani, let me begin with you. You're close to, or at least closer to where all of the drama played out last week. And I imagine that this is not something that members of the PDP, lovers of the PDP, or those affiliated to the PDP want to see. First, how are you taking those events? Because you are close to one of the principal characters in all of this, or at least in the PDP. That's the FCT Minister, Mr. Nyesom Wike. So how is he internalizing all of this? I mean, the party that he loves so much, the PDP.
Well, to me, it is very painful. It is very painful that we are in this kind of situation, self-inflicted situation, I'll call it. It is very painful to me. It is very painful that somebody who should not be at that BOT meeting choose to come to the BOT meeting. How he was invited, who told him to come there, I don't understand. I don't understand why somebody who is claiming to be national secretary of the party, when that position has never been vacant, will be allowed to come to the party secretariat to attend BOT meeting. And that's the genesis of some of these things. And that's why I call it self-inflicted. When you choose not to obey your own rules, when you choose not to obey your own constitution, you find yourself in this kind of situation. I hope and I pray that we'll be able to solve all these issues, face reality, obey our own laws.
Mr. Olani, who are you referring to? Who are you referring to as a person that was not meant to be at that meeting?
I'm referring to the former national youth leader of the party, Ude Okoye. Ude Okoye came to the party, to the national secretariat last week, claiming to be national secretary of the PDP. And everything, every fact on ground, every fact, the position of the constitution of the PDP does not support that his claim.
So are you deciding to choose the facts, Mr. Olani? Because some will say there is a court backing, the appeal court ruling. There is a governance of the PDP supporting him. So which of the facts are you choosing not to look at those facts?
Number one, the position of the party constitution is very clear. When a party officer, for instance, national officer of the party, going to contest election into public office, does not need to resign his position. The party constitution did not say, the party constitution has no provision to defend that as national officer, maybe national secretary, chairman, or whatever, when you want to go and contest elected position, that you should resign. There's nowhere in the constitution of the PDP where that is stated. Anyone with that kind of provision should show us, number one. So as at the time Senator Samayan went to Imo State to contest the governorship, he did not resign his position as the national secretary of the party. And there's no reason for him to resign. Then when he lost that election, he came back to his position. And before that time, some people just sat in somewhere and said they have heard the Sona Congress and Sona meeting, and somebody has emerged. When the party constitution, section 47(2) of the party is very clear. It says that national officer of the party shall emerge at national convention. That is the position of the party. So as national secretary, you cannot emerge at any zonal congress or any zonal meeting. So the question is, where did Ude Okoye, let's even assume that at Samayan, assuming but not consider that he resigned, assuming but not consider that position was vacant, when did PDP hold national convention to elect a new secretary? When the PDP hold national convention to elect Samayan?
Mr. Leigh, let's take it to Mr. Ekemini. Let's take it to Mr. Ekemini. Mr. Ekemini, I would like your response as well. Apparently, Mr. Leigh has taken his own position, and that's the problem we're dealing with. So everybody has a posturing. On one hand, there's the argument as to the fact that there's no legislation to the effect that someone has to resign. On the other hand, there are quotations about the Constitution and then the laws of the party. But the fact is, Mr. Samayan went to contest the controversy whether he should resign, should not resign. Somebody appointed, went to court. 20th, a judgment was given in favor of Mr. Ude Okoye. 24th of December, I think the National Publicity Secretary, Ologun Agba, read it and said the party recognizes it became a subject of litigation. And then a stay of execution was filed, was to be heard, maintain status quo ante bellum, and they are saying wait for the Supreme Court decision. We understand that, for the records, Mr. Leigh, we understand that Mr. Ude Okoye was actually invited to find a path to resolve the issue before things went out of hand. I don't know what is your position, Mr. Odim, on this particular issue of Mr. Ude Okoye versus Samayan, which is the biggest controversy in the PDP. And as you're answering that, this issue of how a party leader at the NWC is to be replaced, I also like you to speak to it, because that is the issue Damagun is dealing with. Now Samayan is dealing with that issue.
The PDP as a party should not be a party that tends to argue with court rulings and judgments. Okoye has gone to court, and the court has made a pronouncement in his favor. It would be wrong to still say, oh, there is nothing like that. We do not know of anything like that, because there is a decision of the court in his favor. And so when my colleague there is saying, oh, it has never been in our constitution that if you go to contest election, that you resign your seat and all that. I think the party has passed that level. We are at the point that there is a decision of the court on this matter, and the matter has gone to a higher court, and the matter is now before the Supreme Court. I would have loved the argument to be, okay, we are doing this because there is a matter at the Supreme Court. But to say that it has never been, it is not in our constitution, I think the party has gone beyond that. As a political party, ours must be a party that respects decisions of court. At the moment, there is a decision of the court on that subject, the subject of the national, secretary of the party. And I think that the party ought to, respect that decision of the court. Now, when we say that a man can leave an active office in the party, an office that requires your presence on a day-to-day basis, if the party is to be properly run, the national secretary of the party needs to be there from day to day. It's not an ad hoc, position. When you say that, I have the right to contest election in my state, leave the office of the national secretary of the party, I close it, I lock it up, and go. And If I become unsuccessful, I come back. Now what happens during the time of my absence? I do not think that a political party should be run that way, which is one of the problems of our political party today. The party should be run on a day-to-day basis and should be run consensuously. The party should not be such that I can go on sabbatical and then come back at any time. No matter what happens to the face of the party, it is not important. Now, we should be able to, officers of the party should be able to work for the soul of the party and not for the individual interest only. If we do not have anything like that in the constitution of our party, where if you want to go for an elective office, you have to at least resign, go for that elective office, then there's a serious lacuna in the constitution of the PDP. We must have such provision in the constitution where if you take the decision to go to your own state, to contest election to be governor, to contest election to be senator, you should be able to put in your resignation letter so as to allow another person to take over the office and then perform the day-to-day responsibility of that office. Because this is one of the problems of the PDP. At the moment, it's an issue of who is the authentic secretary of the PDP. This one is dragging it, this one is dragging it. I do not think that the party should be run that way. Talking about the national chairmanship of the party, it is also part of the problems of the party.
Okay.
When Dr. Iyorchayu resigned from the political party, one would have expected that the PDP would make an immediate replacement, the kind of replacement that resonates with the entire membership of the party. Now, if for any reason you say, okay, somebody should be in the acting capacity, is a person expected to be in acting capacity forever? It shouldn't be so.
Okay.
If you say that someone should be in acting capacity, just like you start acting, you call it acting, no one should be acting forever. It is for the leadership of the political party to move in as quickly as possible and see how we can have a substantive chairman of the political party, and this will help the party.
All right, Mr. Odin, let me take it to Mr. Leigh. Mr. Leigh, I would like you to respond to some of the things that Mr. Odin has said. Look, he said, we've gone past the issue of whether the party requires somebody to resign or not. Now there is a decision of court which has to be respected. We know there's a stay of execution applied. I don't know what the hearing of that outcome was, but it's now at the Supreme Court. I would like you to respond to that. And in your view, how come that the Electoral Act, I think Section 8412 also, and some sections of the Constitution, if I remember, 66, 137, 107, requires that you resign before you contest elective position, but the PDP seem to not to have that in the articles of their party. Because we need to query that.
Let me take your last question first. That aspect of constitution that you are referring to is talking about public service. If you are in the public service, you resign. It is stated in the Constitution and the Electoral Act. So there's difference between being in the public service and holding
Mr. Leigh, just a moment. Just hold on, Mr. Leigh. I'm aware of what I said. I know it's public service. There's the argument of civil servant, public service. I'm just saying, how come somebody serving in those positions? The law.
I'm just telling you.
Just a minute. Just hold on. Just a minute. The law says resign 30 days before, but when it comes to the party politics itself, why is that not adopted? That's just my question. I know what I asked.
That is what I'm saying. Until the constitution of the party states that is when you can begin to enforce it. As of today, nothing like that in the constitution of the PDP. Maybe like my brother to the other person said, it is a lacuna. But the moment it is not there, you cannot enforce it. Then he also mentioned that, I thought to my mind you said he's a lawyer. Good. He said that the pronouncement of the court should be obeyed. I'm fine with that, and I'm also in tandem with that. We should obey. PDP should obey its own law, and also obey judgment of the court. As of today, there was a judgment of the appeal court saying Ude Okoye should be national secretary. But on that judgment of the appeal court, a stay of execution was filed. And in law, the moment you file a stay of execution, the moment you file that motion for stay of execution on a judgment, that judgment cannot come to effect until that stay of execution is determined. That is the position of the law. The moment you file, not even talking about the court ruling on the stay of execution now. When you file before the court, the law says that you must not take any step for that judgment to take effect until the court rule on the stay of execution.
Pardon me,
But
Mr. Odim, let's quickly bounce this off a legal practitioner.
Let me conclude this.
No, you made a statement in law. You will just
pause. I have to conclude this.
All right, go ahead. You just made a statement that we need to fact check with a lawyer.
I need to conclude.
But you can conclude your thoughts.
I need to conclude this,
yes,
please. Then on this one again, the court has said status quo antebellum should be maintained. Status quo antebellum, the meaning is that what was obtainable before the hostility, what was obtained, the situation before the crisis started, that is status quo antebellum. That is what the Court of Appeal said. So as of today, the status quo antebellum was that to defend that Sam Anyanwu was the secretary because the bone of contention is the secretary. So he was the secretary until the crisis started. That is status quo antebellum. That is the position of the law of the court. Anybody saying any other thing apart from this may have to at least, because a 100 level law student knows that status quo antebellum means that what was obtainable before the crisis started. And what was obtainable in this instance case was that Sam Anyanwu was the secretary. Simple. There's no two ways about that.
All right. So let's take those two issues quickly, just so we can get the most of this conversation. To the legal practitioner, Mr. Udim, is that correct? That once the stay of execution is filed, the judgment is stayed, whether or not the stay of execution has been decided by the court or not. And then the status quo bit, maybe you can speak to it, but the point is this stay of execution bit, quickly.
Well, the filing of the stay of execution only does not stop the judgment of a court from taking effect. Mere filing of motion for stay of execution. Rather, it is the law that judgments of courts of law take immediate effect. I mean, that's the only way you can give meaning to the industry of the court. So take a matter from commencement down to judgment is a long process. It's a tedious job for the judges. And therefore, the only way you can, give meaning to that industry is the position of the law that says that judgments of courts of law take immediate effect. And that's it. It's a global concept, right? But when a stay of execution is filed, it does not automatically stay the judgments of the court from taking effect. It's like filing an appeal against a decision of the lower court. Just filing the notice of appeal alone does not stop the judgment of the lower court from taking effect. Now, let me concentrate on the issue of filing of stay of execution. When you file, like I said, it does not automatically stop the judgment of the court of law from taking effect. However, when you take a step further to argue the motion for stay of execution, and the court grants that motion and says, the judgment that I gave, the judgment that we gave is hereby stayed. The judgment that we gave is hereby, yet stayed. It therefore means that everything returns to status quo. In that case, if the Sam Anyanwu come, if they have gone to the Court of Appeal that gave the judgment and have asked for stay of execution, and the stay has truly been granted by my lords, the justices of the Court of Appeal, it therefore means that everybody has to respect that latest decision of the appellate court on the subject. But to say that once you file, it stays, no, that's not the exact position of the court. But like I said, if you take a step further, it's usually motion on notice. So you have to serve it on the other party. They come to the court, they present argument, And when the court then looks at two sides of the argument and sees reason to stay execution, then if that has happened, it therefore means that all of us in the PDP, we have to respect that latest decision of the appellate court. The leadership of the PDP at the moment, you have to respect that latest decision of the appellate court. It may not be convenient.
All right, Mr. Kevin, just before we let it go and send it back to Mr. Leigh, just legal question, staying with the legalese. So if a stay of execution is filed, how long does it hold? Because I think that was part of the controversy. Besides, I heard that Mr. Ode was actually invited. There was also the argument that the stay of execution request or appeal was to be heard on the 27th, which was, I think, a Monday. I don't know whether it was really heard and it was granted. I don't know. That fact I can't speak to. But I want to find out exactly how long is the stay of execution. How long can they now say, okay, it's no longer tenable, then the other action can take place? Just education in terms of the law here.
Well, it will depend on the language of the court. Because it's an order, it's usually an order. An order is hereby granted, staying execution of the judgment. If the court says, pending the determination of the appeal at the Supreme Court, then that's clear. You have to wait until the matter is determined at the Supreme Court. If the court says it is stayed pending the happening of an event, you wait for that event. But mostly, in situations like this, the court would mostly say execution should be stayed pending the hearing and determination of the appeal at the Supreme Court. Now, Let me say this. Once that is done, everybody has to down tool. Everybody has to wait the determination of the Supreme Court on the matter. Now, it begs the question again, how soon can the Supreme Court decide matters when filed before the court? Some cases have been in the Supreme Court for many years because of the docket of the Supreme Court is already full. So some cases have been in the Supreme Court for as much as 3, 4, 5 years. If that happens in this case, then it would have defeated the whole essence of going to court. So my own would be, it's an appeal, that my lords of the Supreme Court, with due respect, should see this as a matter of national interest.
Okay, Mr. Odom.
And then should look at the rules, breach the rules, and see how this matter can be heard as quickly as possible, because a major political party in Nigeria is suffering.
In the interim, or on the flip side, Mr. Odom, the parties can just withdraw their cases in court and settle this internally. That is, if they're able to. So I'll take this to Mr. Lainka, because as Mr. Odom said, this case can last in the court for years. That's if it's not granted that accelerated hearing in that sense. And imagine if it lasts up until after 2027, what will become of the PDP? So, Mr. Lainka, it's been said that in resolving this internally, the FCT minister plays a huge role. Some have described him as the bone stuck in the neck of the PDP. Some say he's the key to the peace in the PDP. When you bounce these issues off him, what is his own position really, at least when it comes to peace in the PDP? Does he see himself as that bone stuck in the throat of the PDP, and whatever PDP does until they find a way to placate him, things will not move on?
You are talking about the FCT minister, right?
Yes, certainly.
Well, his position is simple. And his position is that the party, like I said, should obey its own rules. The party should be run normally. We should stop working to answer. We should stop looking at issue as it affects me or as it affects my interest. That is his position. And that is why he has come out on many occasions to say that let the rules of the party be obeyed. And like I've said here, the rule of the party, and I quoted section 47(2) of the Constitution of the PDP, is to the effect that national officers of the party should emerge from a national convention. Even if we are saying that these people have resigned, that's what I said. There's a provision of the Constitution of the party as to replacement. And the provision is clear. Section 47(2) And that is what Minister Wike is that is his position. Let the party obey its own rule. Like my brother said, he said, the moment you file appeal at the Supreme Court on this matter of National Secretary, appeal has been filed before the Supreme Court. A stay of execution is before the appeal court. The appeal court has said, maintain status quo ante bellum pending the determination of the motion for stay of execution. That is the point. And if we are not too careful, I'm worried about this. If we are not too careful, 2027 is just 2 years from now. By this time next year, we'll be talking about party primaries and all that. If we are still struggling about who is the national secretary, who is the national chairman, and mind you, all these national officers, their tenure ends in October this year. Why can't we just wait for that till that October, and all of them will go and we put new national officers? Because if we are not too careful, and I'm saying this as a warning to all PDP stakeholders, if we are not too careful, this party might not have candidate in 2027. Because we'll be in court. Because sending names of party candidates to INEC, National Secretary must have to sign. If at the time we need to send candidate to INEC, and we are still struggling as to who is National Secretary and who is not, who will now sign letter from the party sending names of candidates to INEC?
Okay. Let's get to Mr. Odim. Mr. Odim, let's speak to some of the law, because Mr. Leigh has made some very strong points as to obeying the laws of the party. Are you seeing a lacuna in the constitution of the PDP that needs to be fixed? The quote we're talking about 47.2 says the election of national officers shall be at the National Convention, while that of those at the lower level shall be at the respective congresses. But I just saw subsection 5 says any officer elected into the executive committee of the party at any level may resign his or her office by giving 30 days notice in writing to the appropriate executive committee, except in case of resignation for the purpose of vying for an elective office, which shall be effective within the period stipulated in the guideline issued for such elective office by the National Executive Committee of the party or the state executive, respective local government. I wanted you to marry that. That part of the law, is it talking about the election within the elective position within the party or public office? Let's see whether there's a lacuna or there's a conflict or not.
Well, it's certainly talking about elections within the party, the People's Democratic Party, as a registered political party in Nigeria, and not talking about election into national offices in Nigeria. But is there lacuna in the constitution of the PDP? I think there is. In fact, it's not even one. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and plenty of it. Now, how soon, when last did the PDP amend its constitution? I think there is need to amend the constitution. But in a situation where PDP is unable to hold national convention, a situation where PDP is unable to hold simple meetings and come up with resolution without people carrying things on the table and throwing at each other, a situation where the PDP is unable at the moment, to address the issue of legitimacy as regards the leadership of the party, then how easy would it be for the PDP to sit down as a political party and then amend its constitution? My brother there has said that the offices in the party, anyone who wants to occupy any office must emerge through, the national convention. And I ask, our current national chairman of the party, acting national chairman of the party, did he emerge through a national convention? If yes, which one? And what was the date of his emergence in a national convention? You see, laws, when enacted, they are also enacted for purpose of giving effect to the provisions of the law. It doesn't mean, what happens if someone dies, God forbid, in the middle of his tenure? Can he not be replaced? It can be replaced without necessarily going to the national convention. After some time, you go and rectify it. So the issue of using the national convention as the reason for the tussle in the office of the secretary of the political party, right, I do not think that issue will stand, especially when you put it side by side with the fact that our national chairman of the party, acting national chairman, that has acted for many months now, did not also emerge from a national convention. You see,
well,
the point
Mr.
I'm trying to
Udim,
make is this.
we
The
have
point
to
I'm trying to make.
anchor at this point, but you can land on that point quickly. We have to anchor.
Yeah, to land, if PDP truly wants to wrestle power from the APC, PDP must be as organized as the APC was.
There you go.
That's how APC was able to wrestle power from Jonathan and are still in power till today.
Okay.
PDP cannot be in disarray and expect to wrestle power, in 2027 from the APC.
Well, we have to thank you so much, Mr. Kemini Udim, member of the PDP. Quite instructive words there, really. The APC, or rather the PDP, needs to get its act together and be organized. But thank you for your time and for the legal perspectives as well. I think this is also very important in the conversation. And Mr. Olayinka, we have to thank you as well. I wonder if the FCT minister is considered as a member of the opposition at this point, because they say opposition are gathering ahead of 2027. So is he a part of the opposition coming together?
Well, let me quickly respond to what my brother said.
No, he didn't ask you a question. This is just a final note, Mr. Olayinka.
No.
You can speak to my question, but we have to anchor now.
I need to educate the public. The national chairman of the party, acting national chairman Damagu, does not need to emerge through a national convention. He emerged through the process of the constitution. When the chairman resigns, the deputy chairman from the zone of the chairman takes over. That is the constitution of the party.
All right.
Then the national secretary, all officers of the party.
We're totally out of time, Mr. Olayinka. But you didn't respond to my question about the opposition role of the FCT minister. I think that's also a very vital point to make. Is it going to be a part of the opposition or not?
Well, PDP as of today should be part of the opposition. No, but I must be clear.
I mean the FCT minister, Mr. Olayinka. I mean the FCT minister.
No. The FCT minister is a member of the PDP.
That's the opposition.
Whatever the PDP chooses to do, rightly, will be his position. Whatever the PDP does, rightly, in accordance with his own law, will be his position.
So, Mr. Olayinka, that's not a straightforward answer. Is he a strong figure in the, because we know in Nyesom Wike he was very, very strong and vocal as an opposition governor. He's not been as vocal in terms of opposition. So will he be the strong opposition?
Well, you said as governor. Is he a governor now?
Okay.
He's not a governor. He's not a governor now.
All right. Well, Mr. Olayinka, we have to thank you so much. Very interesting days for the PDP. We don't know how long this will last, but we're here to report all of it. We'll be speaking with Mr. Leigh Olayinka, Senior Special Assistant on Public Communications and Social Media to the FCT Minister, Nyesom Wike. Thank you once again for your time, gentlemen.
You're welcome.
We'll take a moment now. When we return, we're taking another angle now at what's going on within the state. So this is a national issue, but how about the states? Maybe we're coming to your state next, so stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. We're not done with the conversation around the PDP. You know, we talked at the national level. Let's go to the sub-national. We're being joined on the program by Tella Bayomi, the PDP chairman of Ogun State. Mr. Bayomi, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm happy to be here.
All right, Mr. Bayomi, at the local level of the PDP, I mean the state chapter now, that's what I mean local level. How is the party internalizing this? You're the leader, or I mean the chairman of the party at the state level. How are you characterizing and internalizing all of the things that are playing out at the NWC and the BOT level of the PDP?
Well, thank you very much. Good morning, Nigerians. First and foremost, it's unfortunate what is happening at a national level, but like I always say, it's a political party. It's not a corporate body where you have organogram of the MD and what have you. This is an association where different interests is put together, and whether you like it or not, the first thing you must have in your mind while choosing your leader is that you must have what it takes to lead people and be able to give leadership on crisis. Well, at the state level, we are resolute to ensure that we are oppositions who are well placed and ready to take the battle upon ourselves and ensure that we are in government in 2027, particularly in Ogun State. However, we cannot say totally that what is happening at the national level does not affect us. Well, as a former member of National Executive Committee of PDP in Abuja, I understand that quite a number of things is happening there. But I know that the leaders and the founders of the party will not rest on their oars to ensure that PDP is positioned to be the main opposition that we are supposed to be. And I think everything humanly possible is being done. All of this, with time, will fizzle away as far as I'm concerned. I did not share the view of Mr. Olani on the fact that this crisis will get into 2027 and it may be difficult for us to have a candidate. I am very, very sure and I'm aware, as one of the state chairman of the 36 and 37 plus Abuja, that with time, all of this will get settled and PDP will back to its position as the main opposition and be ready to take government in 2027.
Well, they say the taste of a pudding is in the eating, so let's just test that. Which of the national secretaries or those laying claims do you interact with, Mr. Anyanwu or Mr. Odeokoye?
Well, I want to pitch my tent.
Oh dear. We're going to try to reconnect.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. Just let us know when you're ready to respond to that question.
Yeah. I want to pick my tent with the court now in this instance. You see, when a matter is in court, you try not to, comment too much. But as it were today, well, it's unfortunate we're finding ourselves in this position. We're already in court. PDP is the only party that goes to court in and out. I think with time, we'll groom past that and we'll be able to.
When you say you pitch your tent with the court, pardon me, Mr. Teller, what does that mean? Is it the appeal court?
Yeah, as
that says Mr. Odeokoye
there's a judgment of the appeal court.
So is that for Mr. Odeokoye?
What I'm saying is, as of today, there's a judgment of appeal court that said Mr. Anyanwu has resigned and he has to vacate for Udoye. But I'm aware that a stay of execution has been filed. And once that is a file, like I'm listening to Odim now and others who have spoken about, I'm not a lawyer. But if that is the position, I think we should just wait for the court to decide and then we'll go from there.
There's no national secretary for you. You're not related with any of the national secretaries. Well,
as it were, the state chapter of the party in most cases relates with national organizing secretary. Perhaps after the instruction of the secretary. Whoever the national decide today that the secretary, remain my own secretary in Ogun State.
All right, Mr. Teller, let's come to Ogun politics for a moment. In your view, by your own assessment, because we're talking about viable and strong opposition here, I know I've had a conversation with the governorship candidate, Mr. Adebutu, a while ago about the governance and some of the politics in the state and all the things that are played out with arrests, now, invitation with police and all of that. How strong of an opposition is the PDP in Ogun State? Effectively, not by name.
Well, thank you. This new ESCO came into place in September 28, 2024. And we have veterans in this present ESCO. Like I told you earlier on, I'm a member of NEC. I've been council chairman in Ogun State. All my politics over 3 decades ago has been in Ogun State, so I know the terrain. I've been in government, now I'm in the opposition. And I want to tell you that today in Ogun State, PDP is the party to beat. And in the time past, we have a lot of serious issues, but now we are putting our house into order, and the PDP is going united, and we are going to ensure that we remain so, and the opposition is strong. We know the task ahead of us is Akulian, and we are going to measure up because we're together now, and my led ESCO will ensure that we have a sterile opposition that will match the APC, and we ensure that we are party to beat in 2027 because we can't lose this chance. 2027 is our chance and we're going to take it.
But how well will you do that? First, there is still the challenge. We are not even clear which of the national secretaries you're interacting with. So one, there's that issue at the national level. At your level as well, former chairman of your party, Mr. Ogundele, and former deputy governorship candidate of your party as well, had gone to court. So even at the state level, there are issues. By the way, I know that a committee, elders have been raised for that particular reconciliation. How far is that going? Because these are the things that will affect your role as opposition or otherwise. In fact, some say that the ruling party has sort of incorporated or co-opted opposition in Ogun State.
Well, thank you. I agree without conceding. You see, like I told you earlier on, political parties is interest-based. Whether you like it or not, you continue to manage yourself at every point in time. And you must have that mechanism in place to ensure that this management of crisis is ongoing. Like I told you, as far as we are concerned in PDP Ogun State, we are talking to ourselves. We are reminding ourselves that we've been in opposition for close to about 13 years, and we don't have a choice. We have to come together to ensure that we have a strong opposition that can take government in 2027. And because of that, all of us are you just mentioned Dr. Skirulai Ogundele now, who was the former chairman, my friend, with whom we are colleagues. As council chairman, he was council chairman for local government. I am from Adodota local government. We have a working relationship. That does not mean he does not have his own interest. But we are talking. We are talking, and the essence of being the state party chairman today is that I must lead the party to victory. And if I have to do that, I realize that I have to reconcile everybody. Yes, the reconciliation committee from the national has been working. We have bring up our own reconciliation committee too, who is talking to people up and down. I did not rest on my oars to continue to engage people and let them know that we have to come together. Like I told you, even twins that were born with the same umbilical cord will have issues. Talk less of people from different backgrounds who will come together to say, we want to do this together. And don't forget, I told you, it's all about interest. Everybody want to protect his own interest. In the course of protecting your interest, of course, there will be crises, there will be differences, but ability to manage that is what is important.
All right, Mr.
And I promise you, we are going to manage the state.
Just a moment. I did talk about effective opposition, and what I mean by that, I remember, and I want you to give an assessment of the Governor Dapo Abiodun's performance since he became governor, especially this second term. And the reason I say that, because there was a time there were lots of complaints about the state of roads in Ogun State, especially I think in the Lagos axis where the roads are really, really bad. And then it was the people. The people had to rise. What is going on now is the fact that because of the failure of opposition, or quote and unquote, with the greatest sense of respect, the docility of opposition, the people are now to take the burden of fighting or facing the government directly. That's supposed to be the job of the opposition before the CSO and media comes in. So how effective are you, I ask again, and how would you assess the performance of Dapo Abiodun?
First and foremost, let me remind you that I said this new ESCO came into being on 28 September 2024. And I want to remind you also that I said this crop of ESCOs are veterans in the game, but you have to put your house in order before you move. We started talking to the government to do what is needful to the people of Ogun State. But in the coming time, you will see what we are up to and where we place ourselves as opposition. However, talking about...
You had September, October, November, December, January. This is almost 6 months. You are still putting your house in order. You're not speaking?
My brother will be speaking. I will be speaking on issues. And the truth of the matter is that a political party, like I said earlier, is not a corporate body. You have a lot of things to put in order so that your voice can go the same way. And that we are doing. And we started talking, and like I told you, in the coming time, you will see we are getting stronger, and we get back to the plane of opposition that we're expected to be.
So will my assumption of saying in the short term that the PDP in Ogun State is ineffective, would that be too much of a brush assessment?
Like I told you, you see, this crisis has gone for so long in Ogun State. This is the first time we are getting it right 90% and above in doing our Congress. And because of that, we are battle ready to take on the incumbent governor of Ogun State and the government of Ogun State under the leadership of Governor Dapo Abiodun. So it's not too late for us to begin to do what we are going to do. And the people of the state PDP, this crop of ESCO will do it.
All right, Mr. Abayomi, thank you for your response. But clearly, it appears the PDP in Ogun State is not doing its work. That's the inference we're getting from you're saying. We hope you can get your acts together and do the opposition work. But we wish your party well, both at the state and the national level, because we need opposition party to be effective. Tella Abayomi is the PDP chairman in Ogun State. Thank you so much, sir, for coming on the program. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. We'll take a quick break now. When we come back, we'll bring you the next leg of the conversation. That auto crash that left 30 persons dead in Ondo State. Quite a sad one. What exactly happened? We'll hear from the authorities. Join us again.
Let's talk about road transportation this morning. A lot of Nigerians are on the roads right now. You're probably listening to us in a bus. Clearly, some are in taxis or what have you, but people have to go to office or to their work, business via the roads. And the sad event that occurred in Ondo State has brought us to that point yet again where we need to reiterate some of those things that we ought to know as road users. The very sad event, no fewer than 30 passengers losing their lives in a road crash that occurred on Saturday at mile 49 along the Lagos-Ore Expressway near Ore in the Odigbo local government area of Ondo State. And seeing some of the images coming out of that crash really is very sad. Well, we have joining us on the show this morning the FRC Sector Commander, Ondo State, Mr. Samuel Ibitoye. You're welcome to the Morning Brief, Mr. Ibitoye.
Thank you so much. Good morning, viewers.
Well, a very sad one, really. And what more do we know about that crash? We understand it may have been caused by overspeeding, but just maybe walk us through what more information you've been able to gather about the crash, the investigations, and all of that, something that may help the public. Mr. Ibitoye.
Thank you so much. It was quite a very worrisome incident, very disturbing and disheartening for a crash to happen and claim 30 lives just within a few minutes. It's a very, very sad one. It happened on Saturday, just like we have just stated, in the afternoon at about 5:10 p.m. at Olani around Adibadeda on the Ore Lagos Expressway. It was actually a bus, that's GU bus, coming from Lagos as this. I got to that area and faced an upcoming vehicle, facing the traffic, not going on his own way. And the other one coming from Boko, flight transport company, overspeeding. The two of them overspeeding, then there was a head of collision in the process, and the whole thing went into flame. At the end of the day, we had 28 people that got burnt beyond recognition, and 4 people were rescued, out of which 2 died on the way to the hospital, and the rest 2 are responding to treatment. That's at Olani.
Goodness me, really sad one there. I know that the Road Safety Corps has been, speaking about the trends, particularly for the previous year, saying that the Corps recorded a reduction in the number of crashes, but there was a 7% increase in fatalities. 5,421 were killed in 2024, and I imagine this will be added to the fatalities in 2025. So I want you to walk us through some of the major causes of road crashes and what we as road users can do. We'll come to some other issues, but let's deal with this one first, Mr. Ibitoye. What are some of these major causes and how can we prevent them yet again?
Sincerely, our vision is to ensure that when crashes occur in the country, it ends in no death. That is, we want to reduce fatality to the barest minimum, so that Nigerians, when they move from one point to another, they are sure of not getting their life destroyed by the negligence of a driver. Now, the major causes of the crashes that we are recording is that of human factor, the mechanical factor, and the environmental factor. But out of these three major factors, the human factor carries the chunk of it, about 85% of it, because it is the human that drives, it's the human that are even crossing the road, even the passengers, the signers of the road, and every other person around the road environment. Human beings control so much of it. So the human factor is a major one, and that is why we preach most times that Nigerians need to change their attitude to road safety. And the second one is the mechanical factor, which has to do with the vehicle itself, the care of the vehicle, the maintenance of the vehicle, and the other aspect of the vehicle. And the third one is the environment, which has to do with the road or some other factors, the weather, and other ones that has to do with nature. These are the causes of the road traffic crashes that we experience on Nigerian roads. But mainly, our concern is that of the human factor, because the drivers especially, they're the ones who are the ones that are determining what happens on the road. They determine the speed they go, they determine the load they carry, they determine some other things that happen on the road. Even dangerous driving, they're the ones that determine A. So our focus mainly is for the driver. Just as the commercial activated last year, December, during the zero tolerance, that we should also add in aggressive public education the role of the passengers. The passengers on board vehicles do not need to keep quiet while the driver is doing his business. That if the driver is driving dangerously, that the passengers are expected by duty.
If I may come in, speaking to some of the things you're mentioning, you've mentioned the human factor, you've mentioned the mechanical factor. Maybe you can tell us percentage in terms of which is worse. But my concern is the efficiency in terms of implementation by your men and everyone who is supposed to hold these persons who are drivers, whether private or public transportation, public transport drivers, to account. How effective is that? Because sometimes we see complicity, overlook. For instance, let's just even say Lagos, for instance. The way we see some of these buses drive and the state of those buses, no private vehicle will even attempt. They will be paying huge fines. It looks like the authorities have given up on some of these public drivers and how they operate and prosecute their business. I'd like you to speak to that, because there's complicity in one end.
We are still doing our job, and we are still striving hard to improve on doing our job, so that at the end of the day we can have our way. What we do mostly is enforcement. Before enforcement, serious advocacy, because they need to change their attitude. When you see the same Nigerian, when you drive to obey the rules, when you go to the US or the UK, Nigerians there will comply.
Mr. Peter, can you hear us? Okay, I'm sure we were having a bit of a connection challenge with this network. Mr. Peter, if you can you hear me now? We couldn't hear you clearly. All right.
I can hear you very well.
Okay. In speaking to what you were speaking to, because the network didn't allow us to hear all the things you were saying. I'm happy you mentioned outside our country or in other climes where enforcement is because of the consequence of bad behavior, and that is in two layers: the effectiveness of persons like you who are in charge of direct enforcement, and then what will happen outside that environment in court. So doesn't that speak to failure of a systemic failure in itself as part of the problem?
No, it is not a failure. It's a fact that Nigerians need to change their attitude. They need to change their attitude. For FRSC, we go on aggressive enforcement every time. And we also even go into Mumbai courts activation that will give instant judgment to those who are committing infraction on the roads. We are not resting on our oars, and we continue to enforce the law, and we still give them what they deserve when you break the law. But what we are saying is that primarily attitudinal change is a major thing. When you know that road safety has played a significant role in your life, and you want to go back, you will be better for it. The politicians, they know that their life is on the road. Then Nigeria, the FRSC is only the FRSC doing just claim the Nigerians must come, observe the rules, and make our roads better. Imagine 30 people losing their lives just within just a minute. They are brand new winners. There are families of people, their husbands, their wives of people at home. Why are Nigerians not obeying the rules? Why should a driver, even after enforcement, after giving dangerous driving and making people to pay fines or even convicting them by a mobile court, why should a driver should be paying traffic and killing about 30 people at a go? That's
certainly a very sad one, Mr. Bitoye. But when you say it's Nigerians, generally, some will say they can point to cases within the core as well. I personally witnessed the case of some men of the FRC now in Lagos State this time around, hurling rocks at a truck because they were trying to stop the truck and the truck was not stopping. So they had to find a way to hurl the rock at the truck. Now, two wrongs certainly don't make a right, but it points to the question raised about enforcement, right? Because what happened eventually was when that rock was hurled at the truck, we tried to dodge that rock, it hit another vehicle. So what we had on our hands was another accident in that sense. But a point you made, Mr. Bitoye, which I want you to reiterate for Nigerians, is you said that passengers also have a role to play. So maybe we can wind down on that point. So I'm a passenger in a bus, and the bus driver is driving recklessly. What do you suggest that I do as a passenger? I know you were making that point. You didn't quite land on it. So what do you suggest I do as a passenger in that vehicle?
Thank you so much. You have so many roles to play as passengers. You have roles to play pre-trip, you have roles to play during the trip, and you have roles to play even after the trip. Pre-trip, when you get to a park, you are expected to even inspect the vehicle and see that the vehicle is roadworthy. You are expected to also study the driver.
But Mr. Bitoye, we are not VIO officials. We are not vehicle inspection officers. We are not VIO. We are just passengers.
But of course, you know the tire that is bad.
Oh, I see.
As a road user.
Okay.
You know the tire that is bad. You are expected to check all these things and ensure that, oh, this vehicle can convey me safely to where I'm going.
Right.
If not, why not just stay back and have your life intact? Than for a driver to take you on the road and have a buck tire and at the end of the day killing people on board. That is one. Then two, when you are in the vehicle on the trip and the driver is overspeeding, cautiously, tell the driver or guide driver, please and please, it's like you're overspeeding. Please reduce your speed. In fact, at times you are even to cajole the driver. Let the driver reason with you and reduce his speed. Do not engage the driver in arguments. Do not allow the driver to lose concentration. Don't distract the driver. Because doing that, you end up creating another problem. Then even after, or if the driver even persists, if he's still going, driving recklessly, you can easily get a police checkpoint or military checkpoint or that of FRC and stylishly report in. Or, at best, you get off the vehicle and let him go than your life being wasted by a very unserious driver. Then after the trip, you can also make your comment and send to FRC. Then there is this FRC mobile app that was launched September last year that is available for the public to use. You can also report such a driver or take picture and send it to the mobile app and let us know so that we can track down the driver. The fact is that the fleet operators on Nigerian roads are all registered. Many of them are registered, so you can easily track them and call them to question anytime.
Mr. Abitoye, quite a number of issues raised with what you said, but we have to anchor. So there's been the failure of the authorities in inspecting these vehicles. They're meant to be roadworthy, but if they're not roadworthy, what are they doing at the parks or on the roads in the first place? There's also the talk about the state of our roads, right, which is out of your purview, but particularly the work that is meant to be done by the FRSC, the VIO, ensuring that either you're a tanker or a bus, you are roadworthy. Those are issues that are also out there and staring us in the face. But we have to thank you so much for some of the work you're doing and enlightening Nigerians. We've been speaking with the FRSC Sector Commander, Ondo State, Mr. Samuel Abitoye. Thank you and wish you the very best.
Thank you so much. God bless.
Well, we'll take a moment now, and when we return, we'll turn our attention to the story of some inspiring women in Nigeria and beyond. That's the moment. Stay with us.
Welcome back. It's time for us to spotlight yet another woman who is doing big things within a small space, or, big space, if you will. Being joined in the program by civil and structural engineer, decorative painting and interior aesthetics engineer Barakat Adenike Adeshino. Joins us from our Kano studio. Thank you so much, Mr. Adeshino, for coming on the program.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. Good morning.
So my first question, I'm sure you know this will come, is the first degree in civil engineering, second degree in structural and material engineering, certified painter with Ministry of Labor and Employment. You are also a member of the Nigerian Society of Engineers and current certified engineer. With all these big degrees and these big achievements, and then you now chose painting, without disparaging painting, by the way. Walk us through how that decision came to be.
Okay, thank you very much for this. I'm someone that I love structures. That's why I did civil engineering. But during my NYSC, there was a SAID program where they mentioned paint making and POP. And to me, I felt that is the aesthetic part of the structural design that I learned in school. So, because no matter what we do, there's what we call safe whenever we want to actually design a building. And it comes there that aesthetics is a part of whatever we are designing. So I felt it like this is an addition. This is actually what will bring out what we have designed. This is actually what will bring out the imagination the clients have. So that was the reason why I fell in love with painting immediately, and I took it as a profession, went to a painting school, and did a lot of training on painting. So that was what prompted that.
So when you compare what you would have gained as an engineer, given the fact that there's a lot of construction in those spaces, in those kind of spaces, and what you're doing in painting, are you happy with the decision you made? Because people will be curious to know.
I am very, very happy. Very, very happy with the decision. Though I'm not forgetting the civil engineering part I read. That's why I did my NSC and I'm also current certified. So maybe later in the future, I'll also delve into renovation and go back to the field. But definitely I'm not leaving the painting industry, because me being in the painting industry has liberated a lot of people. I've been able to train a lot of people. And also as a female, I've been able to become an inspiration to a lot of young ladies out there. So it's something that makes me so very, very happy, because through painting, I have the ability to help a lot of people, because it does not really require you having a lot of certification before you delve into painting. So there are times I teach people the business of painting, because painting also has its business part. So it's something I'm so happy doing.
Amazing. Maybe we'll talk about the political part of you, really, but you're a paint manufacturer, am I correct?
Yes.
So, just to be clear, you are not just a painter, you manufacture paint that is then used for the painting. Walk us through that process, because we're big on encouraging manufacturers in Nigeria, ensuring that we ramp up production in the country. But how easy or tough is it to be a manufacturer of paint? Something very, very delicate, because one little mistake, one color issue or texture issue, the paint is wasted. So how tricky is that sector?
Normally, I do tell people that manufacturing generally in Nigeria is very tough. It's a tough one. There are times I tell some of my close people that upcoming manufacturers, I think federal government needs to start giving us salary or tell us, okay, go for vacation, because it's never easy. We're always having one problem to the other. There's the dollar hike, there's transportation problem, there's lighting issues. Then you come to human personnel as well. It's a whole lot of headache. But paint industry is something that it has its own challenges as well. But one thing keeps me going and keeps me just moving on is the passion I have for the industry, that we need to reduce the level at which we import things into Nigeria. No matter what, we need to embrace and encourage manufacturers here in Nigeria. That is the only thing that can make our naira stable. That is the only thing that can help the economy. That is the only thing that can reduce the rate of unemployment. So me at times sitting with my team, brainstorming on what to do next, how to venture into another market. Here I am in Kano. I came for a trade fair in Kano, and the reason for it is I'm planning an entrance into another market entirely. So the trade fair is something like a market research, visibility, to know what the Kano market is all about. So it's just about we having Nigeria in mind, that definitely it will not be easy, but surely if we keep moving a step at a time, we'll definitely get there. So paint industry is something that is tricky. There are times we've run into some issues during manufacturing, but one thing that keeps us back is that I'm someone that I do ask for review. No matter how negative the review is, I always try to sit down and look at what the problem is, because we know we cannot actually get it right from the onset. So from the start, I have this mindset that when we pull it out, we ask people, okay, what is left? What do we need to do better? Then we'll go back to the drawing board. And I'm someone that I do trainings a lot.
Right.
I train on, because my background is in civil engineering and not in chemical or chemistry.
Right.
So I do a lot of trainings just to keep up with what is going on, what is the new thing happening in the industry. And I don't just train alone, I carry my team along. We train all of them together, because it's not something I can do alone. It's a teamwork. So that has actually made the industry a favorable one, because we keep learning. It's a learning phase. We keep learning. So anything that comes in, we sit down and look at how do we work with this? What is the next line of action? What is the strategy we are deploying for this?
Right.
And it has actually been favorable for us. At least we've sold a lot of paints. We've had a lot of positive reviews.
There you go.
I was nominated as a federal government awardee some years back. So it's actually telling us that, yes, we are on the right path. If we keep moving, we'll definitely get there.
And that takes me to my next question, because you're in an industry where we have big names already. If people want to buy paint, they already have their go-to, right? So you are really competing with some big names. But hey, these people also started from somewhere. They started from perhaps a very small portion before they were able to grow. Speak to us about your raw materials, for example. Are they all sourced locally? How easy is it to get them? And how are you able to compete in this industry where we have the big names, right? Do you lower your prices? What more do you offer such that people are like, okay, let me go for Barakat and not those other big names?
Okay, so this is how it works. There are some of our raw materials we source locally, like our calcium carbonate. It comes from Ilori, it comes from Hauchi. Then majorly every other raw materials we use, we buy actually from importers, people that import all these raw materials into Nigeria. Then it's easy to get, but the only issue we have is because of the dollar. It keeps increasing every now and then. Yes, and the competition is very, very fierce. It's not even about just the known brand alone. We have a lot of people that are not standard approved to produce paints that do it on a low key. It's also another competition we get from there. Then competing with the big brand is not actually, I don't believe in doing a cost penetration marketing, because we really could not compete in terms of price. Because if we are trying to compete in terms of price, we will definitely be out of the market. Because at the end of the day, we will not do something beneficial for the company to stand on. So what I actually do is that we do a cost markup, but we make it reasonable enough. It's not that very high. So we actually want to build the confidence people have in our brand first. So we're trying to do more of brand building so people can actually understand that this product is of a quality product. So we've actually, we visit a lot of places, go to Painters Association meeting, meet with the NIOB, the Institute of Builders, talk to some interior designers to tell them that this product is, apart from being certified with MANCAP by the SON, we actually put in everything to make sure that we are using the best quality raw materials to produce them. So by the time we convince people to try it, they actually used to buy more. Some of them actually used to refer us because they're getting the paint at a is pocket friendly. It's not that very expensive, and they're getting the value for the money they paid for. So they easily refer us to others. They easily tell us, oh, go and get Glitz paint, because they are getting the value for it. So we don't really compete on pricing, because if we do that, we'll definitely run out of the market very, very soon, because the big brands already had the volumes. They are already selling in volumes, and they have the mind share. So by the time we want to come in with that, we don't really have a lot of fund to do much of their PR, much of their marketing. So we do whatever we are capable of doing at our own level, move it step by step, then we're getting there, and we're getting ahead as well.
As we wind down,
know Glitz paints.
Yeah, as we wind down, good point you've raised. As we wind down, there's no way we'll have this conversation without talking about the challenges and what you will consider an appropriate intervention by government at subnational and national level in terms of policy. What will it be to help people like you?
There is a lot of policy that can help people like us, and one of it is that I think the SON are really trying, but I think they still need more. They need to do more of some things, because we used to have a lot of people adulterating our product out there. So maybe, and another policy that can help us grow as a manufacturer in Nigeria is for us to basically have all it takes in terms of the education, in terms of the machinery and everything, to supply all the paints Nigeria needs to Nigeria. We need to encourage people to buy made in Nigerian products. Those are the things that can actually help the economy. Those are the things that can reduce the rate of unemployment. So there's a lot of policy can come in terms of people should even the government itself has to learn how to patronize made in Nigerian products. Even the government, when they want to paint any space or anything, they need to put it as, it needs to start from them. So it's not all about putting policy out there. They need to lead by example. So there needs to be like projects that has to be done, and it would actually be given out to real manufacturers that manufactures this product here in Nigeria, that they can hold to ransom if anything happens to all this product.
Okay.
So we can actually leverage on that. We can have a lot of big projects to refer to build more confidence in our clients, and that would actually help the industry at large.
Well, thank you so much, Engineer Barakat Adenike Adesina, civil engineer, civil and structural engineer, I must add, and a decorative painting and interior aesthetics specialist. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
And from Kano, we will head out to the country to bring you a lady who is preserving ancestral legacy with artistic work. On our segment we call The Morning Chapters. Join us again.
Olani Leigh joins us on the show this morning. She is an author, scriptwriter, bestseller, I should say. And she joins us live from Kent in the United Kingdom. You're welcome to the Morning Brief, Olani.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
We really wanted to have you last week, but, the connection failed us. But this morning, we're excited to have you join us. And we're just going to get right into it. First, the look. I've seen your pictures, so it's not as though you're concealing your image, right? Or at least your identity as it is. But speak to us about what informed the look. I'm thinking Catwoman, I'm thinking a superhero. But what is this about, Olani?
Well, it's my brand, and that's what I wanted to do. And plus the fact, a lot of my writing that I do, I look at the human psyche. Everybody is wearing a mask in some kind of way. Because the me that talks to the person at work is different to the me that talks to my family. Maybe it's different to maybe the man I meet on the street. So, yeah.
Beautiful. I'm tempted to ask, so what does this mask say about you if everyone's wearing a mask? How does this describe your person or your work, which we'll get into right away, but I'm really intrigued by the mask. And a lot of our viewers are. It was one of the, points that came up last week when we were about to have you.
When I actually started, I said that, I wanted this to be my brand. And a lot of people have asked me, and I said, it just happened. And that's what happened. So in a lot of places that I do go, when I've been to like red carpet events and all of that stuff, I still do wear the mask.
There you go. And obviously it's a seller. People just love it right away. But let's talk about your work. I don't know where to start, but I'll start with my grandfather's inheritance, the fox and the raven. What you're doing is amazing. You're putting African history. You're just, you're weaving brilliant stories together. What is the drive for this? Because you're clearly not in Africa. So is this a need to preserve African stories to history? Or it's just a means to make money, something comes to you naturally, and like, well, let me make money with this, or it's a collabo, as they say, a mix of both?
For me, it's quite important that our history, our ancestry is preserved, because there are a lot of people who have moved out of Nigeria. Take me, for instance. My father came to study in England. My mother came from America to study in England, and they met. So, my father was from Nigeria. My grandfather on my mother's side was from Nigeria, but my grandmother wasn't. So there were a lot of things that I had to learn about Nigeria and about my heritage. And it's happening that a lot of people are leaving Nigeria and the whole of Africa to different countries, and, they don't know what their history is anymore. And the reason why my grandfather's inheritance came to me was I was listening to the radio one day driving, and this lady, blue-eyed blonde, went to do a blood test, and the results came back, and they told her that, oh, you do realize that you have the sickle cell trait. And she said that they did something wrong. They tested her blood 4 times, and she said that there's no way that there could be black blood in her family. And that's how the story came to be.
So I'm just wondering, have you lived in Africa before?
I've lived in Nigeria. I've been to Nigeria, yeah.
How long have you been here?
I was born here. I was born in the UK.
Okay, so cumulatively, how many years have you lived in Nigeria? That's what I'm asking, actually.
Oh, let's say around 5 years on and off.
Okay, because the reason I'm asking that question, your story, is it a reflection of personal experience based on your heritage, or the 5 years of living in Nigeria, so that you can speak based on place of authority, if you posit it correctly?
Well, my stories are based on the fact that I have a fascination with our creation story, i.e. the African creation story that human beings started in Leigh. And that's it. I'm in love with the place. We have a lot of history there. We have a lot of culture there. And if you think about it, a lot of bestsellers that have happened that are outside the white Greek mythology norm, has always been based on our Ilefe mythology, and everybody's fascinated by it. So it's something that I'm fascinated about. I am not Ilefe, but I want to bring it to the world.
So for those who are not familiar with this mythology around Ilefe, what is it?
The mythology is that the Yoruba race was created in Ilefe. Olodumare sent one of his sons down to start Ilefe, and that's how the Yoruba tribe spread.
So the big picture, I always look at big pictures, because when you're writing, when you're putting your thoughts together and doing all of these things, I'm sure you have a big picture in your mind. What is the story you're trying to tell the world as an end game?
The story that I'm trying to tell the world is, one, come and have a look at our culture. Two, a lot of our people, especially the men, are in positions of authority. In all of my books, you see men in position of authority. You see me humanizing men and giving people a better picture of, other than what they're reading in social media about Yoruba demons, or this is this, this is that. So, yeah.
So do you feel also the fact that, because I was watching something the other day and I felt like, okay, there has been some form of slavery, one form or the other. There's the human slavery now, Africa is economic slavery. Do you feel that the wealth of the story you're trying to tell has been lost in transition, and that's why you're reliving this story?
That's a very deep question. What I'm trying to do is, in one way or the other, put Nigeria on the map for people to read about it and, you know, have curiosity about it and maybe even want to visit the place.
It's very interesting how you weave these things together yet again, and what you're trying to do. Maybe we'll talk about how well you think even people here are embracing such mythology and selling it, because that's what a lot of countries do. Basically, they sell their mythology, and it's a good seller, or at least money maker. But you also say that, a lot of white people are not as white as they think, and you give the example of someone who did that, blood test and realized there was that trace. And then there's that talk about a cursed bloodline. What has been the response or the reception to your work, particularly from white people? A lot of people say, I need to do that blood test and see just how white I am. Are they saying, well, this is not true, this can't be true, this is just, you're just trying to spin things up? What has been the reception?
The reception has been quite positive, and people are now intrigued, because while I was writing the book, there was actually an article in The Guardian where a doctor did say that there are a lot of people who are walking around who are not as white as they think, and they need to do the blood test to see if they do have sickle cell traits. And the end game of this book is the fact that, 300 years ago, and that's the other thing that I weaved into the story. 300 years ago, a prince left Ilefe with all the artifacts that the Orishas knew the colonizers were going to come and take. They tasked him with the job of taking it out of Ilefe and keeping it somewhere, and when the time was right, he would bring it back. So, 300 years ago, it's not going to be him that is going to come back. It will definitely be his descendants. So that legacy of blood stayed in that family. The family came back, and the person was as white as you can expect, and the person now met somebody that he wanted to marry, and they realized that, they've got sickle cell traits that had been bothering them for the past 300 years, because somebody cursed the family and said that the legacy of blood will never leave you. And in Africa, when we lay curses, the curses are, sometimes literal, sometimes not. So people listening to the curse, because that family, all the boys never lived up to the age of 50. They all had a disease that was quite mysterious. And it wasn't mysterious when we go into modern medicine. It was the fact that these people had sickle cell trait. And, for some people with sickle cell trait, it actually presents like sickle cell because they do have crisis as well.
Right. Very interesting. As we wind down, the goal basically is to reclaim our history and mythology. I think it will do well to have that sense of where we're coming from, even if a lot of it is disputed, but still have something we can talk about, something that unites us, and something we're able to tell the world that this is our identity. So in order to maybe move forward with this, it looks like everyone is doing their work here and there. How do we bring all of this together? So it's not like we're working in silos, but we're working together. Where do you think we need to, what frontier do we need to push this to next? Are you looking at having, governments coming together, or still have individuals doing their bits?
I think one thing that we need to do is we focus a lot on science, technology. We also need to focus on the arts. I'm a prime example. I did computer science. Everybody's saying, focus on science, but we need to focus on our arts. Our art is the thing that is going to take us to the future, that is going to be there in 1,000 years to show our great-great-great-great-grandchildren that this is where we come from.
There you go. It'll be good to see movies come out of this. I know we've done a lot of work in that sense, but maybe from your own point of view, it'll be lovely to see that. And it's great to know you're a scriptwriter as well. So is that something we should be looking forward to?
Yes, I have had talks with people about my grandfather's inheritance, and hopefully very soon there will be something on the screen.
I'd love to see that story about someone taking the artifacts and coming back white. That'll be interesting. We'll be speaking with Olani Leigh, who is a writer, best-selling author. We wish you the very best. I think it's great to see works like this, and that's what we wanted to do, spotlight the work you're doing. Thank you for your time, and we wish you the best once again.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Bye.
There you have it. So, you should pick up some of these works and just go through it. It gives you that sense of belonging, that sense of there's something greater at work here. But let's take a look at what's trending this morning.
Yes, from the books, let's get to what people are saying. And
for those who don't want to face their book, or face the book to the Facebook.
I think the way the world is working, I think we need to rethink and review on how we consider learning process. The traditional way of learning has actually changed. We're going to come to that one day, but let's talk about what people are saying about Dangote Refinery announcing that they are reducing their ex-depot price from 950 naira to 890 naira to take effect. I think it took effect on Saturday, February the 1st. That consequentially means we should be buying fuel for less, maybe 925, perhaps, when they put all the other costs for the people that are retailers. But Abba says the power competition, why the Group announcing price fluctuation of only fuel product because PH and Warri refineries are on board. Really?
I think usually they follow suit.
They just follow suit.
Yeah.
Dangote is clearly the leader, so let's not even argue. So whatever PH and Warri is producing, I think can produce almost 3 times that.
And there are those who say that they've still not bought petrol for less than 1,000 in spite of all of these various announcements. So take a look at Mega Mixer
controversy.
Saying that this is a welcome development now that competition seems to be influencing petrol sales in Nigeria. Let's see if and how government-owned refineries will respond. Yet again, the same point being made.
All right, maybe we'll go to, the last one, price war, just where we need to be, a situation where competition is always on. I don't think there's a competition yet. Because you combine all of this, but just that he leads the market in a way, because if you have, I think we've consumed about 40 million liters. Warri and Port Harcourt, if you talk about the PMS component, I stand to be corrected. I don't know whether they do up to 5 million. Dangote does almost 30, so when you say competition,
make up in some sense.
Yeah, so when you talk about competition, that means I can give as much as you can give. Let's go.
No, certainly. Yeah. It's augmentation. Okay. When is augmenting the work of the
augmentive competition.
There you have it.
But it's good. It's good we're having this thing. This is where we want to be. All right.
What you need in your car these days is not just petrol. You need your papers.
Yeah.
And we understand that the police is sort of stepping up the enforcement of mandatory third-party insurance for all vehicles on Nigerian roads. Question, police, does this include the commercial buses as well.
Kyrie, let's say the truth. It does not include. It's supposed by nominally
Let's just
supposed
ask,
to.
You know, just me being, you know.
In Lagos, for instance,
Hopeful.
I'm even confused. There is police checking you.
Right.
There's LASMA checking you. There's VIO checking you. There's FRS. What in the world is? I don't understand. I'm driving back and I see.
Someone says neighborhood watch has been added to the list.
I will not be surprised. I'm driving back home at that garage area. I see some people, they say they're from Ogun State and they are dressed in mufti, just hang something on their hand. I finally get out of the road. Who are you? Okay.
Do they have, what are they? Are they?
I don't know what they are. They just hang this thing on the road.
Are they boys on the road?
They're men.
Do they have identification? Do they have a uniform?
They just had this thing on their hand. They say from Ogun State.
Do they have uniforms?
That's what I'm saying. All they have is something on their hand.
Band.
A band on their hand.
Come on.
So police is checking, VIO is checking, FRS is checking, everybody's checking. What exactly are all these people checking? Anyway, but the police is saying third-party insurance. Kyrie, you have.
Iwoma just took that right out of my mouth, saying, does that include all the downfall and taxes? By the way, downfall commercial buses,
in Lagos.
In case you're wondering. No, actually, I think in Southeast generally, or in Ibadan as well.
In Southwest.
Yeah, doubtful generally. So he says, does it include them? Those guys have no business with vehicle documents renewal.
Facts.
It's funny we're laughing, but these are pain points.
It is the fact.
These are real issues.
You remember the VIO guy came and said they don't come for inspection because they will not pass
They
the
are
inspection.
above the law in some sense.
Dr. Bengizi said, I honestly didn't know that car insurance wasn't mandatory in Nigeria until now. Probably people will start driving responsibly. They have these things, you know. It's not
what I know is they usually ask for it. If you don't have your insurance papers, as last time, you will be, you know, delayed, detained, or what have you. So it's very interesting. This is coming up yet again.
I think just go to FRSC. When you do your papers, all of that can be sorted.
Yeah, you just find an insurance. I'm not sure if it's up to 10,000 naira or more, except you're doing
I'm sure
the
those guys
comprehensive.
know they can help you guide you on how to get it.
Yeah.
So just if your car is roadworthy.
There you go. So I think the bigger part of this conversation is ensuring that every vehicle on the road is worthy, whether you're a tanker, you're a commercial bus, or a korope in Lagos. Those are the smaller buses.
Every vehicle.
Yeah.
Until police and the rest start arresting commercial drivers, I don't take this thing seriously.
Definitely.
For people like us, we have it, but the other ones forget it.
And that's where you find all the accidents sometimes.
Yes. Thank you for your time and company. The director is on us. So we say bye-bye. I'm Jeffrey Uzama.
It just shows how much we love you. But guess what? We're not leaving you totally. Sunrise Daily is next right here on Channels Television. Have a fantastic day ahead. I'm Kyrie Goodbye.